Sarah had always loved the quiet solitude of her night shifts at Costco. The vast echoing aisles, the neatly stacked shelves, and the hum of the fluorescent lights brought a strange sense of calm. As the senior employee, she took pride in ensuring everything was for the morning rush. But lately, a creeping unease had settled over her. Shadows seemed to stretch and linger in ways they shouldn't, and the warehouse felt colder than usual. She shrugged it off as paranoia from working too many nights alone. Yet every time she walked past the towering shelves, she couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching her. One particularly quiet night, as Sarah was restocking shelves in the far corner of the warehouse, she heard a noise that made her stop in her tracks. It was faint at first, a soft rhythmic tapping coming from the back of the store. She tried to ignore it, chalking it up to the building settling or the heating system kicking in. But the tapping grew louder, turning into a distinct, irregular thumping. She set down her box cutter, the sound prickling at the edges of her nerves. As the noise persisted, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, and she couldn't help but wonder if there was more to these sounds than just the usual nocturnal creaks and groans of the massive store. Sarah hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. The thumping continued, now accompanied by a scraping noise that sent shivers down her spine. With a deep breath to steady herself, she reluctantly decided to investigate. Leaving her cart behind, she followed the sound through the labyrinthine aisles of Costco. The overhead lights flickered ominously as she approached the storage area at the back of the warehouse. The air grew colder with each step, and a sense of dread settled over her like a heavy blanket. As she neared the storage shelves, Sarah noticed something odd, a trail of wet footprints leading deeper into the dimly lit recesses. They were too large to be from an animal and seemed to vanish into the shadows ahead. Ignoring the knot of fear tightening in her stomach, Sarah moved cautiously forward, her footsteps echoing in the empty silence. Sarah's flashlight beam swept over the rows of towering shelves, casting long shadows that seemed to dance and twist with a life of their own. She followed the trail of footprints deeper into the storage area, where the air was thick with a musty metallic scent. The footprints led her to a corner of the warehouse she had never explored, hidden behind stacks of cardboard boxes and crates. There, hidden from prying eyes, Sarah discovered an old, rusted door, partially concealed by a pile of discarded packaging materials. The door looked ancient, its paint peeling and hinges creaking in protest as she pushed it open. A stale gust of air rushed out, carrying the scent of decay and damp earth with it. Beyond the door was a narrow, winding tunnel that descended into darkness. Sarah hesitated, her pulse quickening with a mixture of fear and curiosity. She knew she shouldn't go any further, but something compelled her to step inside and unravel the mystery hidden beneath Costco's familiar aisles. The tunnel stretched before her like a yawning abyss, its walls lined with cobwebs and patches of damp moss. The dripping water echoed in the silence, punctuated by the occasional scuttle of unseen creatures. As Sarah ventured deeper into the unknown, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was trespassing in a place not meant for human eyes. As Sarah navigated the labyrinthine tunnels, the sense of dread intensified. The air grew colder and heavier with each step, pressing down on her like a weight. She felt as though unseen eyes were watching her every move, their presence palpable in the eerie silence. Sarah's flashlight flickered intermittently, casting fleeting shadows that seemed to dart and vanish along the damp, moss-covered walls. The tunnel seemed to twist and turn endlessly, leading her deeper into the belly of the earth. Panic gnawed at the edges of her mind as she realized she had lost track of time and direction. Desperate to find her way back, Sarah quickly retraced her steps through the winding passages, but the tunnels seemed to shift and rearrange themselves, disorienting her at every turn. Whispers echoed in the darkness, teasing at the edges of her sanity. Just as she began to fear she would never escape, Sarah stumbled upon a faint glow ahead, a glimmer of light that promised salvation. With renewed hope, she followed the dim beacon, eventually emerging into a part of the store that felt strangely unfamiliar. Gasping for breath, Sarah stood at the edge of the warehouse, near the loading bay where trucks usually unloaded supplies. The familiar sight of stacked pallets and towering shelves greeted her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that she had crossed a threshold into a realm where reality blurred with nightmare. Exhausted and shaken, Sarah stumbled towards the nearest exit, vowing never to return to that forsaken corner of Costco. Yet, in the back of her mind, she knew that the darkness she had encountered would continue to haunt her dreams, a lingering reminder of the horrors that lurked beneath the surface of the everyday world. Sarah never spoke to anyone about her harrowing experience in the depths of Costco's tunnels. She continued her shifts, going through the motions with a haunted look. Her co-workers noticed the change in her demeanor, but they attributed it to stress or fatigue from working late nights. Months passed, and Sarah tried her best to bury the memories of that fateful night. She avoided the back storage area and kept her interactions with the darker corners of the warehouse to a minimum. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something malevolent still lingered within those walls. One day, a new employee named Mark joined the team. Eager and enthusiastic, he quickly familiarized himself with the store's layout. During one of his shifts, Mark stumbled upon an old, forgotten door tucked away in the storage area. Intrigued by its mysterious appearance, he pushed it open and peered into the darkness. Unbeknownst to him, Sarah happened to pass by at that moment, her heart skipping a beat as she caught sight of the open door. She hesitated, torn between warning Mark of the dangers ahead and letting him discover the truth for himself. Ultimately, she chose to keep silent, knowing all too well the irresistible lure of curiosity. As Mark disappeared into the shadows of the tunnel, Sarah turned away, her mind filled with conflicting emotions. She couldn't help but wonder if he would encounter the same horror she had faced, if he, too, would become trapped in the web of darkness that lurked beneath the surface of Costco. And as the door swung shut behind him, sealing his fate, Sarah knew that the cycle would continue, that the secrets buried within the heart of the warehouse would forever haunt those who dared to uncover them. Sarah watched silently as Mark disappeared into the darkness beyond the old door, a mixture of relief and guilt washing over her. She wanted to warn him, to shout out and tell him to turn back, but something held her back, a deep-seated fear of what might happen if she interfered. Days passed, and Mark's absence from the warehouse did not go unnoticed. His co-workers speculated about his sudden disappearance, exchanging nervous glances whenever the topic arose. Sarah, too, was haunted by guilt, tormented by the thought that she had condemned another soul to face the horrors that lurked within Costco's hidden depths. Then, one stormy night, Sarah received a phone call from the store manager. Mark had been reported missing and was last seen entering the storage area. A search party was organized, combing through every inch of the warehouse in a frantic attempt to find him. But as hours turned into days, hope began to wane, replaced by a chilling realization that Mark might never be found. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread among the employees of strange occurrences in the warehouse, unexplained noises echoing through the aisles, shadowy figures glimpsed out of the corner of their eyes, and a pervasive sense of unease that seemed to settle over the store like a shroud. Sarah's nights became sleepless as guilt gnawed at her conscience. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was responsible for Mark's disappearance, that her silence had sealed his fate. Every night, as she walked past the storage area, she would pause, her hand hovering over the old door, tempted to open it and confront the darkness within. But she never did. The old door remained closed, its secrets hidden from prying eyes. And as time passed, the memory of that fateful night faded into legend, a cautionary tale whispered among new hires, a reminder of the dangers that lay hidden beneath the surface of the ordinary. But Sarah knew the truth. She knew that the darkness within Costco's walls was real and hungered for unsuspecting souls who dared to venture too close. As she continued her nightly shifts, she couldn't help but wonder if someday someone else would stumble upon the old door and unleash the horrors that waited patiently in the shadows. For Sarah, the resolution was never finding closure, but learning to live with the knowledge that some secrets are better left undisturbed, even if they continue to haunt her dreams. As she watched over the store, she silently vowed to protect others from the darkness that had claimed her peace of mind.